everyone is talking about postmodernism and the threat, and rightly so, but I just think you identified its pernicious nature so much earlier than most people. And I don't think
Mm.
enough people in the liberty movement appreciate that. General MacArthur is famous for having said, basically, all failures in war can be summed up as not in time or too late. And I
Mm.
think that applies to intellectual movements as well. And I think because you saw the threat so much earlier that
Mm.
I've even seen Jordan Peterson interview you. I mean, himself quite early on identifying the threat of postmodernism. And I mean, even he sees you as a reference for his audience, like when he wants to do a deeper dive into postmodernism.
Yes. Yeah.
As for me, I think I remember around the early 90s hearing about political correctness in school. I mean, just as you were, realizing the philosophical underpinnings of it, I mean, anecdotally, what were you seeing in academia?
Yeah. Well, in a way, the point you're making is a testament to the power of ideas as I see it. So one of the things that philosophy does for those who get into it is that it enlarges your sense of what the issues are, and the more you integrate that with history, you can see how philosophical ideas have played out. I just love that quotation from Lord Bolingbroke that history is philosophy teaching by example. Uh, philosophy is the theory, history is the practice. So particularly as we've gotten into the modern world, where the power of the human mind has really taken off and shaped culture in so many dimensions, religiously, politically, economically, scientifically, technologically, and so on, we are much more thinking big picture and thinking strategically. So my philosophical education and combined with my historical education, I think did put me in a good position to say, all right, here we are. I was in the 1990s. I'd finished my PhD work. I was a young professor. And I started reading more broadly in a lot of continental philosophy, which, frankly, my undergraduate education and graduate school education had been deficient in. I had a good history of philosophy of education, but much of it was from a more analytical and positivistic perspective. So many of the continental philosophers and thinkers were just names to me. So when I started reading seriously in the 1990s, I came across them. And a lot of it is crap, but at the same time, there was a lot of important stuff in the crap. And I could see that it wasn't just a few weird philosophers here and there, that the ideas were also getting into literature departments, getting into even nursing programs, getting into some of the schools of education, legal studies, and so on. So it struck me that here was a set of philosophical ideas, broadly called postmodernism. And to my way of thinking, it is important that Richard Rorty is a philosophy PhD, so is Michel Foucault and Derrida and Lyotard.
Heard those
And
names.
the power of their philosophical ideas was being taken up by the philosophically minded in other branches of academia. And they were starting to reshape curricula, we're starting to train a new generation of graduate students. So at that point, it was becoming clearer to me, and this has to be put in as a conditional. If these ideas continue down this path, this is where they are going to go. And that is, to a large extent, where we got to by the 2010s and on into the 20-teens. And then as it started to spill out, not only from the academic world, but into the broader culture, suddenly, right, everybody is hearing about postmodernism, as you point out.